Hey everybody, welcome to Drive-Thru Review number 108. Today I'm going to talk about Revolution. This is from Steve Jackson Games. I'm going to show you parts of the expansion too. There's an expansion that adds a 5th and 6th player on top of the original 3 to 4 player game. The theme of this is pretty loose. It's sort of Revolutionary War-ish, but the interesting thing to me about this is it's more about not really the Revolutionary War, but about the chaos that can happen when a country goes into revolution. So, everybody's trying to grab a piece for themselves in this game. You're not necessarily trying to advance any kind of ideals or anything like that, or get your form of government in place or anything like that. You're just trying to win over influence of different people and different sort of groups and buildings over your opponents. And it's all about you and the opponents. And so the interesting thing to me, I like the game by the way, but the interesting thing to me about this is that the theme is not necessarily tied directly to like an actual thing, like an actual historical thing or an actual fantastical thing, or you're not really playing a specific person, but you are kind of playing yourself in a way, and you are directly interacting with the other people. So, it's just all about you against them. And very much interactive game. This game will break your heart a lot in the game. So if you can't handle that, then don't get it. But there's been a few times where I think even I've said and other people have said in the middle of the game, God, it's such a stupid game. But you keep playing it. It's a lot of fun though. It's in a fun, lighthearted way. It's from Steve Jackson. If it was serious, then that would be weird. So let me show you how it plays quickly, and then I'll come back and tell you more about it. Okay, here's the board, and you can see there are different areas or buildings and places here. So you've got the market, harbor, fortress, etc. So players are trying to get their influence cubes here. Everybody gets like 25 of those. And you're trying to get these in there and sort of have the majority, have the most in each of the different buildings. Now you can see here that at the end of the game, whoever has the most in the different buildings will get this number of points. You can see here this says 55 points. So whoever has the most in there gets 55 points at the end of the game. If there's a tie, nobody gets it. So that's a key sort of strategy to force ties. Now this building here comes with the expansion. Normally the board just comes with this stuff here. With the expansion you can get this central board here. And it's really up to you, I think, to decide if you have less players, if you want to use this or not. It does have the guardhouse, which I'll talk about, which makes the game a little bit more interesting. So you can kind of just mix and match however you want, but if you're playing with 5 and 6, then for sure add that. So all you're really trying to do on this board is get cubes in these different areas, and then there's a score track here on the side to keep track of points that you'll generate during the game. You'll generate some points during the game, and then you'll score at the end of the game when all of these cubes, or these square spaces here, are filled up with cubes, then the game ends immediately. Now players are going to be spending these different types of currency here. You can see you've got gold, these little force markers, which are the fists, and then the blackmail, which are these black envelopes. And you're going to use those to spend to try to get your influence out here, as well as do other sort of nasty actions. Now each player is going to start with a certain amount of these, and then you're going to be able to get these throughout the game to help you in later rounds. Now each round, all you're going to do is basically place those little tokens over here on this board. And you can see this is the expansion board, and it comes with 6 of these. Now the basic game just has 1 of these here, which is a little bit smaller. It almost looks like they chopped off the bottom row in the original game, but not really. There's basically 4 new spots sort of sprinkled throughout this to sort of add that extra row. So you can kind of choose, I think, if you were to play a 3 and 4 player game, to leave this out. Or you could still play with this with a 3 or 4 player game. Now it's going to be more open-ended, because what players are going to do is sort of fight over taking these actions. So if there's less spaces, obviously, you're going to conflict on more of these actions. So if I was trying to take Innkeeper and Billy was trying to take it, then only one of us is actually going to be able to take it. And I'll explain how that works. But if you have an open board like this, then there's less chance that you're going to conflict on certain spaces. But if you're playing with 5 and 6, you pretty much have to play with these. So I'll explain what these different action spaces are. There's not really that much complexity here, just sort of permutations on kind of the same idea. But each player is going to have a screen in their color. And let me tell you what, look at these things. These are sturdy, they're hard, they're thick. That's awesome. Instead of these little flimsy things that, like, after you played it 10 times, it's like doesn't work anymore. Hate that. Okay, so each player gets this little screen that you're going to put these little boards behind. So like this, you're going to have your boards, and then you're going to put these tokens, whether the gold or the little force things or whatever. And it can tell you here what they do. So force is the most powerful token. Blackmail is the second most powerful, and gold is the weakest. Now, one force token will beat any number of blackmail or gold tokens. So you have 10 gold tokens placed on one of these spots, but Billy has one force token. He's going to get to take that action and you're not. So one blackmail token is worth as many gold tokens. It doesn't matter how many gold tokens you have. So if you have 2 force tokens versus 1 force token, obviously this 2 force token wins. Or if you have a force and a blackmail and the other guy just has a force, then you're going to win because you tied on force, and then now the other guy's got the extra blackmail. So it's pretty simple. So at the beginning of each round, everybody's going to reveal what they have as far as tokens. So you got to say, okay, I've got 4 gold and a force and 2 blackmail. Everybody's got to know how many of each the other player has. And then players are going to put these boards behind their screens, and then they're going to decide which actions they want to take. Now they can take up to 6, and you basically just do that by putting whatever tokens you want on there. And again, you can stack. I could put 3 gold there, a force there, a blackmail there, and you can put it on up to 6 spaces. But there is one restriction. So you can see these areas with red. You can never put a force token on a red space. Just like with the black spaces, you can never put a blackmail. But I could put a blackmail on a red and a red on a black, like that. And then there's these spaces that are sort of double red and black. This can put neither on there. I can't put a black or a red token on there. I can only put gold on these tokens. So everybody's going to decide how they want to do this. Maybe they're going to stack up some influence. Let's say they wanted to do it like this. Do a gold, force token and 3 gold or whatever. Or you can kind of sprinkle it out, sort of take your chances, like so. So we've got 5 spaces there. And then everybody's going to reveal their screens. And then you're just basically going to walk down the list here and see who won. So like if I had 1 gold on there and somebody else had a blackmail, then I would lose. And I'm going to lose this token back to the bank. So you're going to lose all of the tokens. You got to use all your tokens every round. So what do these spaces do? Well, let's look real quick. So this one says General, 1 support, 1 force, Influence Fortress. Support is basically victory points. So you're basically going to gain 1 victory point and move your little token. Everybody has these little tokens here and just move them up. And so you're going to get 1 point. You get 1 force, so you get a fist back, and then you get to influence the fortress. Anytime it says influence, you basically put one of your cubes in the spot. So here's the fortress there, I put my cube there. Next spot is captain, 1 support, 1 force, influence harbor, same kind of deal. Innkeeper, 3 support, 3 points, 1 blackmail, and then influence the tavern. This one is 1 support, 1 blackmail, influence the town hall. So most of these are like that. You're going to influence something, maybe get a token back, get some points. For example, this one here says 3 support or 3 points, 5 gold tokens, and then you influence the market. Now, the only way that you're going to ever get this force and blackmail tokens is by winning these spots and then, being able to take the action. And I'm not sure if I said it earlier, but if you tie with somebody, then nobody gets to take it and everybody loses all of those tokens on there. So that can be sort of heartbreaking as well. But the only way you're going to get these is by winning a spot here and then getting that. So basically, let's say at the end of the round, I'd won and spent all of my tokens, and at the end of the round, I had a force and a blackmail. Then I'm going to draw gold up to until I have 5 total tokens. So I've got 2 tokens, I'll draw 3 gold. So for some reason, if I ended up the round and I lost and I didn't get anything, then I'm going to draw 5 gold. So you're always going to have at least 5 tokens, but you want to try to have more than that going into the next round. Now let's look at some of the special spots here. So if you look at the printer, printer is 10 support. So if you go there, you just get 10 points. Now if you look at that, some of these spots are sort of, relative value is kind of similar to just taking the printer a few times. This is 25, that's 40, that's 55, that's 20. So the printer is an often overlooked spot, but it's a good way to get a lot of points. Now here, let's look at the spy. Replace 1 influence cube with 1 of yours. Basically, you remove one of somebody else's cubes, take it off, and then you put yours on there. Next one is Apothecary Swap 2 cubes in any 2 influence spaces. And they don't have to be yours. Let's say I was the red player, but it was advantageous for me to swap the blue and the yellow cube. I could do that. But these 2 spaces are hindered by placing on this Viceroy. So if you look at the Viceroy, you influence the palace, which is this center piece here, and then you occupy the guardhouse. So the guardhouse is this little spot right there. And when you're in the guardhouse, if I was the yellow player and I was occupying the guardhouse, then none of my cubes can be removed or swapped on the board while I'm in the guardhouse. However, if somebody wins the Viceroy on, the following turn, let's say blue comes in, he can just knock me out of there by taking the Viceroy. And now none of his cubes can be swapped or removed from the board. And that's pretty much the game. You're just going to put tokens on your board, reveal your board, do whatever it says, and then keep going until the board's filled up and there's a winner. Okay, hope you enjoyed the overview. This game is a blast to play. It's very, very interesting. After you get a first couple of plays out of your way, then it kind of makes a little bit more sense. The first time I played it, I was kind of like, well, I don't know, I'll go here and I'll go here. But then after that first game kind of gets over, the different spots on those boards become more or less important based on the nature of the game and what point the game is in. So as that game the board gets filled up, then you've got to see, okay, where am I in relationship to the leader? Am I the leader? Do I want to end the game quickly and put some cubes in some other spots where I don't have the majority, but I want to get the game over? And I know Frankie wants to get the game over, so I'm going to put some spots, some things there to block him or whatever. So it's really interesting. It's also very maddening because you can be trying to do something and really need to get something done, and then you reveal your screen and then blah, you don't get to do like hardly anything that turn. But it's not a game that I think is meant to be taken like real seriously. It's fun. It's sort of, you can backstab people without actually meaning to backstab people or seeming like you mean to backstab them. This is the type of game I think that should be played quickly and not really methodically too much. It's kind of a big guessing game, but there's an educated guess that you should be making. It's not the kind of game where I think people should be counting the points on the board and then trying to figure out this guy is going to get this many points. And if you're going to do that, then do it quickly, please, because this is not a game I want to spend an hour and a half doing. It's a game that should be done in less than an hour. I don't know what the playtime says, but I do think that people can get kind of bogged down in the second guessing. So you got to give them a little bit of space there as they're, figuring out, okay, do I put extra gold coins on top of this fist? Or do I try to sprinkle around and try to go for, hope I get these couple of things, or really try to focus on this one? So you got to give people a little bit of space there, but again, it's not a serious type of thing. It's just meant to be a fun kind of thing. So I think this is the designer's first game, Philip Duberry. Last year he did a game called Kingdom of Solomon, which I played before playing this one, and I really like that game. I think it was on my top 10 of 2011. And so this is his first game, I think, and pretty different. I've never seen a game like this. People may get sort of afraid of the blind bidding, but you're not really bidding. You're trying to connive and kind of be sneaky. So it's not really like a bidding thing where it's not like a blind bid auction or something. I wouldn't really call it a blind. I have a real hard time calling this a blind bidding game for some reason. It doesn't feel like a blind bidding game. It's more different. It's more like engaging. It's not an economic thing. It's it's hard to explain. Play it, then tell me. But it's fun. So yeah, it's cool. This guy comes out with some good stuff. It's everything's kind of different enough, Okay, so go get this, and I would get the expansion too. It gives you some flexibility. Even if you're only going to play with 3-4 players, if you want a more open-ended game, you get those bigger boards, and then you get that guardhouse too. So the guardhouse is adds sort of that extra little sort of layer of second guessing. Okay, thanks.